there, and welcome to my channel. If this is your first time here, my name is Angie and I'm a chemist who loves makeup. So today we are going to be talking about ingredients lists. Specifically, we'll be breaking down what an ingredients list can't tell you as an average consumer. These are things that I see a lot of people saying a lot, or common misconceptions about ingredients lists. So some people may have more knowledge or more experience that allows them to do certain things for an ingredients list. In fact, this is how your generic products are made. They get a given ingredients list and try to reverse engineer it. But we are approaching this from being the average everyday consumer. So the first is that this does not tell you the quantity of ingredients. Ingredients lists are required to go from highest concentration to lowest concentration. There are two exceptions to this. One is anything at 1% or lower is allowed to be in any order. So you can have something listed at 0.1% be listed way above something that's at 1.0%. And the other is colorants. That's why in an eyeshadow palette, a lot of times you'll see may contain, pretty much always see them listed at the bottom. So even above the 1% line, it can be hard to know what concentration of ingredients are at. For instance, a serum or micellar water will be 70% plus of just straight water. So something like a moisturizer may be at a lower level of like 40% water, but they're still both listed at the top of an ingredients list. So unless you're familiar with what concentration should be at, sometimes this doesn't really tell you how much of something is in a formula, unless it is specifically described at what the concentration is at. Even when I read these lists, I'm making educated guesses on concentrations based off of what I know. I still couldn't tell you 100% what percentage things are exactly at. The next is the quality of ingredients. So on the packaging, companies are supposed to list the INCI name, which is the International Nomenclature of Cosmetic Ingredients, which are assigned based on CAS number or components, or like a specific plant extract, for example. So for one example, sodium benzoate listed on a packaging is just gonna say sodium benzoate, but there are different sizes of sodium benzoate. There is it in powder form, there is it in granule form, which is a little larger, which is gonna incorporate differently into a formula, but they still have the same CAS number, they still have the same chemical structure, they still are the same thing, but you wouldn't know that based on reading an ingredients list. Similar to mica, depending on the particle size, mica could be bigger, it could be smaller, and that will give you a different result. This is also true of oils and extracts. They could be processed in very different ways. Distillation, cold press, using a solvent, all these different things are produced a different way and can even pull different compounds from them in terms of extracts, which may be beneficial for you, they may not be helpful at all, but you're not gonna know that just by seeing the ingredients listed. And another thing is you wouldn't be able to tell if this was part of a blend. For instance, a lot of preservatives are incorporated into blends, and that blend is then what is added to the formula. Extracts do this a lot where they're blended with like glycerin or capric caprylic triglyceride, but you don't know that based on just reading an ingredients list. And these can make it easier to mix into a formula, whereas if it was added individually, it may be harder to incorporate into the formula properly, and the final product may not turn out as well as desired. The next thing you cannot tell from an ingredients list is the safety of a product. So the presence or absence of a specific ingredient won't tell you if it's safe. The only exception to this is if you are allergic to an ingredient. And even then, that could still be concentration based for some people depending on the ingredient. But an allergic reaction is the only incidence in which reading an ingredients list would be helpful, and is actually the whole reason why ingredients lists are required, is so people will see if there's things that they're allergic to in the formula. So for instance, some people I've seen have called products harmful in the past because they contain sodium hydroxide. Sodium hydroxide is extremely caustic, it's extremely corrosive, and yes, it can be very dangerous in its pure form. But when mixed into a formula, it is a pH adjuster. It helps increase the pH so it would make a product less acidic, which is actually going to make your product safer for your skin. So the presence of this ingredient in the formula isn't harmful unless it's at a very high concentration, which is what usually the case is when people call an ingredient harmful. At the concentrations that they're at in cosmetics, they're usually not harmful. Another Another thing is that you'll see on banned ingredients list is to look out for things such as lead in your product. The thing is you are never going to see a product that has lead on an ingredients list. Lead is a contaminant. That means it's inadvertently in a formula, but not intentionally in there. And unless you're familiar with what ingredients could contain these contaminants, then that's not really helpful information to you. And from the other direction, we have seen products which have had ingredients lists that have claimed to be safe, that claim to be good for you, and they've in fact caused burning skin. But there's not one ingredient that we can definitively say cause these reactions, that cause these negative, harmful reactions. So reading an ingredients list would not have helped in those cases. So again, unless you're allergic to something, reading the ingredients list isn't going to help you determine safety. This is one of those things that you're just going to have to try to buy from reputable brands and trust that the people who have worked on these products have worked to make these safe products for you. And also, just so you know, it is illegal in the US and many, many other jurisdictions to sell harmful products. So if a product was to harm you, there would be legal action that could be taken against these companies. The next thing you cannot tell from an ingredients list is how effective active ingredients in the formula will be on your skin. This is going to be more geared towards skincare products, but I guess this could apply to some makeup products that say they have skincare benefits too. So this is a big one because the whole demonizing of ingredients being in a formula, and praising ingredients being in a formula is what helped a lot of skincare influencers explode, simply because the presence or absence of an ingredient. But again, this is back to concentration. Is that concentration significant enough to have a benefit in the type of formula it is? Is there a benefit? If you put it in a face wash, that's not really going to be that beneficial, but a moisturizer or a serum may show more benefits. Just reading an ingredients list also isn't super beneficial in terms of how beneficial it'll be for your skin. Vitamin C is known to be very unstable, and things like jar products, clear glass products are going to promote the vitamin C to break down more quickly, and therefore having less of it in there will have less of an impact on your skin. So vitamin C simply being on an ingredients list doesn't mean that it's going to be effective in the particular formula that you're using it in. This especially also goes for makeup products that tout skincare benefits. We see a lot of times that they have like hyaluronic acid, certain extracts that are supposed to be beneficial for your skin, but usually these are at such low amounts, probably well under 1%, and they're just in there for marketing purposes. But in reality, they cannot make those ingredients very high in the formula because that'll affect how the makeup applies on your skin. They may help your skin if they put it up to higher concentration, but then the product may not perform as well in terms of being a makeup product. And the last thing that you cannot tell from reading ingredients list is how this product was made. So if I gave you all the ingredients for a cake to you and a friend, you may make it differently than how your friend made it. One of you may be using an electric mixer and the other one may be using a whisk. Those are very different, and one may incorporate it better than the other. Or one of you might overmix and it might be too dense and it may not be that good, and it may not be light and fluffy. And some of these kind of things could make a difference in the end product, some of them might not. But you wouldn't know that just from a list of ingredients. And that applies to cosmetics too. For instance, there are highlighters that contain the same ingredients, but one of them is baked. That means you are applying heat to make it. Certain mechanical instruments, certain mechanics of mixing, certain equipment used for mixing might yield a different result than other ones. The order that things are put in matters a lot. So there's a lot of aspects in terms of making a formula. You can't tell just by reading an ingredients list. So when I'm telling you this doesn't mean that people are too dumb to understand ingredients list or that they can't learn, but this is just showing you that there is a lot more to it than just what is on that box. And if you want to look more into it, you do have to do some in-depth looking, which for the average consumer, that may not be what you want to do, in which case you're better off just trying to get reviews, word of mouth from people you trust. So if you learned something today, please give this video a thumbs up. And do not forget to subscribe if you want to learn more about the science behind makeup and skincare. And with that, I will see you in my next video.